Sam Kahn with us, theathletic.com. Sam, sorry about that. How would you describe the LSU right now? Not only the firing of Brian Kelly, but the aftermath as well.
It's a circus. I was texting with somebody that I know that's an LSU grad, and I said, it's incredible that it only took 3 days for this search to turn into an absolute circus. And I think we know from our past history of following LSU that the state government does get a little bit involved in LSU athletics. Not the first time we've seen this, won't be the last time. But to have the power vacuum that you have with no president right now, and you've got interim, and the athletic director has now been stripped of his power, and you've got the governor got his hands in this whole thing. I don't see a way this ends well, because if you are a appealing coaching candidate and you are trying to decide between jobs like Penn State, LSU, Florida, comparable big-time jobs, if Florida State opens, you would throw that one in the mix. Why would you choose this situation over a place that may have a little bit more stable leadership and a clear line of authority? Because right now, I don't know who you answer to if you get hired at LSU. Do you answer to the board of supervisors? Do you answer to the governor? Clearly, you're not answering to the athletic director based on the governor's comments. So this is a really bad way to start a coaching search, but it's going to be entertaining for all of us to watch. And I would be lying if I said that I'm not intrigued by all the drama.
I would think, and look, I don't want to, just pretend like I know what Lane Kiffin's thinking at any given moment. Nobody does. But if I'm Lane Kiffin, I'm fine with having my agent use them as leverage to get more money out of Ole Miss or more money out of Florida if I decide to go there. But I would have scratched off even the possibility of going there right now, given that you are leaving a situation that the governor's not involved in your hiring and firing. You have a president, you have an athletic director, and you have an NIL collective that's in lockstep behind you. So the next place I go better have all those things, because the money, he can get the money anywhere. I would think that would take them off the table.
You would think, but this can change quickly too, because they are searching for a president. If they are able to get a president, let's say in the next couple of weeks, then maybe that president restores some order. And maybe you have, whether it's you're sticking with Scott Woodward or you're not, if you get a new AD in, obviously that process takes some time as well. And that's where you end up with a situation that could be messy, because if you have a president but you don't have an AD, I think a head coach is a little bit more reticent to commit to a place where you're not hired by the athletic director. So I think it's fair to say, if you're Lane Kiffin, hey, maybe this is not the best situation. And you're right, roster budget is the number one priority. Is, do you have enough money to compete and get a competitive roster? And if you can do that, then you can coach just about anywhere. But LSU is still a top job. It's still advantageous because of its proximity to talent, and not just its proximity to talent, but how easy it is to win on the in-state talent, because Louisiana produces a lot of talent, and most of those kids in that state grew up wanting to go to LSU. So it still is an attractive job. It's still a job you can win, but you may knock off some of the top candidates with this mess until you get a president in there.
Sam, as the carousel turns, of course, with more games coming up this weekend, but as the carousel turns, another piece of news that was noteworthy was Matt Rhule signing an extension with Nebraska that would appear to take him out of any job, but particularly that Penn State job. So your thoughts on him battening down the hatches and seemingly sticking with the Huskers for the foreseeable future, and what that means, but also what do you think that means, if anything, for Penn State?
Not really surprised at all by it. I did not think. I thought that Rhule would at least explore it, and I think we would all be ignorant to things that he probably hasn't at least had a conversation with the AD there, because they're tight. They're friends. They vacation together and things like that. So I'd have to imagine they've at least talked. And so. I had never, Mitch Sherman, who covers Nebraska for the Athletic, he wrote a really good column. I think it was the day after the Penn State job opened, about what Rhule's frame of mind might be with that. And I thought it was something that was very interesting was Rhule's possible reticence to go to his alma mater, because if it doesn't work out, then it really can make things messy. And so because of that kind of stuck in my mind is that I don't know if he ever really wanted the pressure to go back to your alma mater and try to bring a national championship, because they just fired a coach who got into the semifinals and who won a lot of football games there. That's a high bar to clear. And so he's got everything he wants at Nebraska. He's got the resources. He's got the fan support. You saw at the stadium all the time. They love you there, apparently. The program is building. They're doing well in year 3. They're continuing to grow. And he gets to do his podcast. I don't know. I'll be honest with you. Like, this may seem silly, but he seems to really like doing that. And do you think if he lost a football game, what's the first thing that people at Penn State would say if he starts losing football games? Well, you need to do less time on the podcast. Stop worrying about your podcast. And, so he's got a situation right now where he gets to do a lot of what he wants and has a lot of autonomy and sway. And he works for what I think is a really good AD in Troy Dan. And so, heck, why mess with something that's going pretty well right now?
All right. So, Sam, you've got a couple of bangers this week. Cincinnati at Utah. And then, of course, Texas Tech at what could be, I don't know, a resurgent K-State if they win, especially. But a couple of games, and there's others, but these two games and your thoughts. Let's start with Salt Lake City, Utah, and Cincinnati.
Yeah, this is a good one. I was actually interested to see that the spread is double digits, because Cincinnati's played some really good football. And I know Rice Eccles is a really, really good home atmosphere, and Utah has been a really good team this year. But Cincinnati, to me, has been one of the most impressive teams in the country. I thought they did a really good job of portaling guys this offseason, particularly on the offensive line. Joe Cotton the left tackle, has been one of the best out there. And then Brendan Sorsby, after that first game against Nebraska where it didn't really go very well, he's really been on a roll. Cyrus Allen, the receiver, has been a really nice pickup for them, the former Texas A&M receiver. So they reeled off a bunch of wins, but Utah has been really good as well. And you love Utah in a home atmosphere. Rice Eccles gets crazy, and that's going to be a factor. But this is a team also that I feel like, okay, they lost to Tech, they lost to BYU, but this is still a pretty good football team. So definitely some, I don't want to say an elimination game for them, but certainly if you lose a third conference game, that's going to really hurt. So it's kind of a must-win for Utah in this juncture if they want to stay in that Big 12 title game race. But, man, that's going to be a fun one for sure.
Sam, Texas A&M is on their bye this week, and there's all people are trying to already hire Mike Elko at Penn State because he went to Penn and he's from that region. But they are legit. I don't know why you'd leave. Marcel Reed seems to get better every week, and they figure out new ways to do it. They can win in rock fights. They can win in shootouts. They can kind of do it all. And this might be the best team they've ever, or the most complete team they've ever had. Is Texas A&M somehow now a better job than Penn State, at least in the current world we live
in? It's a great question, because I think from a resource standpoint, you don't lack for anything at Texas A&M, but I do believe the conference is deeper. I think you have more to battle through in the SEC than you do in the Big Ten. I think there's a little bit more depth there in the SEC, in my opinion, at this point. And I say that from a roster talent standpoint. I think they're pretty comparable jobs, to be honest with you. I think they're really comparable jobs. So, do you want to leave something that you have really good for this? I tend to think that Elko won't, and he just got his family moved. I think it was this off season, because they had not moved yet from, after he took the job, after he left Duke and took this job, they had not moved initially that first year. So that was a rough first year for him, just on a personal level. And so getting them here now and getting all his family in College Station, Bryan College Station, has been really good for him. And after doing that, I think he'd be real hesitant to shake that up when things are going really well here. And he's going to get a big contract extension at the end of this year based on what they've done. They're right now a legitimate national championship contender. Like they're number, I think, what are they, number 3 right now? I think that's deserving. I mean, they've got a defense that can win. They've got an offense that can outscore you, and they've got a special teams that can change the game. What boxes can they not check that you want a national title contender? And they've done it against some really good teams. So I think he's got a really good situation. If you're Penn State, yeah, I think you take a shot at him. But I would be surprised, I think, if you left A&M for Penn State.
Texas Vanderbilt seems like it's a bit iffy on whether Arch Manning will play or not. Vandy trying to get a third consecutive top 25 win in Texas, just finding ways to keep winning and stay in the mix here. Sam, how do you feel about the Longhorns and how much of a difference, if they don't have a Arch Manning, does that make in your opinion on the outcome?
Oh, I think it does make a difference, if for no other reason than Arch's running ability. His athleticism just adds, his ability to make something happen on the run and the quarterback run game. It's a factor for opposing defenses. So I do think that matters. I do think Matthew Caldwell is capable, but I think Arch kind of brings you another level of athleticism in that position. So I think it does make a difference. But that said, the best quarterback on the field is going to be wearing black and gold. It's Diego Pavia. There's no question about it. He's one of maybe other than Haynes King, maybe the most valuable player in college football to his team, in my opinion. And the thing that is, I think, that goes unsaid about Vanderbilt because of Pavia and everything he's done is this roster is a legitimate SEC roster. Like if you watch them these last few weeks against Missouri, against LSU, they don't look very different from everybody else. Like I remember, 7-8 years ago in the Derek Mason era, they had a few guys on their team that look like, okay, they have a handful of guys that could start another SEC team. That looked just like everybody else. And that's an impressive job by Clark Lee, Barton Simmons, the GM there, that whole staff, to recruit guys because they look fast, they look physical, and they are a top 10, top 12 team for a reason. And so I am fascinated. This will actually I'll be there this weekend. This will be my first time getting to see Diego Pavia in person. And, buddy, I can't wait. I think it's going to be a lot of fun.
Yeah, I think it because, let's just say beating Texas and doing it at Austin, UT hadn't been home in a month, and they scratched and clawed last week, but they got out of there with a win. So that's all that matters is win and move on, and that's exactly what Texas has done, what they did on the road and found a way. How deadly do you – Levy's got some momentum despite the finish, but – how, good God, can you imagine what that would have meant if they'd been able to close out that game and win it?
Oh, man. I know the fans of Starkville were just sick because they had that game in their hands. They were up 17, and that would have been a really big step. But you can see the progress, I think. You can see that program has taken a step from last year. They are better, more, the way they closed out against Arizona State earlier this year was a really big step. I know they've lost 4 in a row now, but that schedule has been a monster for them ever since, that they started 4-0. But you can see, like, they're almost there. I think they've lost 3 games in SEC play by 1 score. They're getting there. And I think Jeff Levy's making some progress, and there's definitely reasons to be encouraged. And maybe they got Arkansas coming up. Maybe they get a chance to steal one down the stretch here. But good team. And Texas, to your point, they were lucky and fortunate to get out with that win. They still have the defense, in my opinion, when they're hitting on all cylinders to win any game. They just got to be cleaner offensively. Got to take care of the football.
Cincy in Utah at 9 o'clock at night in Rice Eccles. This is going to be a tough one for Cincinnati, but given that Evan Pryor's out, but given that they're maybe a little bit more full strength, a little more dynamic on offense, do you think they can roll out of there with a nice little win here, Sam?
I do. I think they're good enough to. But it's going to be tough. Like you said, it's especially a night kickoff there is just such a challenge. But I think from a skill talent standpoint and a line of scrimmage, that's the thing with Cincinnati. From a line of scrimmage, offensive and defensive lines, I think they're very good. I think they've got a lot of talent. They've got, to me, some of the best talent in the Big 12 on the lines of scrimmage, and that's and for all the attention on Thorsby, I think the line of scrimmage play is one of the reasons why they are where they are. So I do think it's possible, but Utah and Kyle Whittingham is a program that is the standard bearer in that part of the country of the line of scrimmage. So it's going to be a physical football game, and it's going to be intense. That crowd's going to be rocking.
Sam, how about them Cougs, man? They just keep on winning, and You look at the schedule, and not trying to get too far ahead. TCU could always beat them. Baylor could beat them, but I mean, it's not like there's Utah and Tech and BYU all lining up in front of them over this last month. I mean, here they are. What do you think about the good, the bad, and the whatever is to come for Willie Fritz and company?
This has been one of the biggest surprises to me of the season, and that's not to say that I expected Houston to be bad. I didn't. I thought Houston would be a bowl team. I thought 6-6, 7-5. That's a great second year and a good next step for Willie Fritz in that program. I think you would. If you would have offered me 7-5 to start the year, I would take it and be happy and say, you know what, that's a good second year, and you're building for the future. They are 7-1, and they are in the Big 12 title game tension right now. Like this is, and I look at the schedule: West Virginia, UCF, TCU, and Baylor. This could be a 10-2 football team.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, which is, if you would have told me that, I would have told you to go see a doctor because something's up. Because I just didn't. I knew they did a lot of good work in the portal. They upgraded the offense across the board, offensive line, field positions. Connor Wegman's been terrific. Tanner Kozio's been terrific. But it's hard to hit on that many guys in the portal. It's such a hard way to live because you just don't know what you're getting when you're recruiting guys. You're recruiting guys in 2 weeks as opposed to the high school guys you recruit for 2 years. And it's just hard to hit on all those guys, but they've hit on so many of them. And the defense has continued to play at a high level. You look at I mean, they haven't given up more than, I guess, 35 to Tech was it. But other than that, they haven't given up more than 28 points. A lot of these teams are under 20. And so this is just, to me, a testament to the kind of staff, the kind of personnel, and the kind of coach that Willie Fritz is. Like, he put together a hell of a staff. He's a builder. He's a winner. He does it he did it at JUCO. He did it at D2.
Mm-hmm.
He did it at FCS. He did it in a group of 5. Well, now he's doing it in a Power 4. So it's like, what else do you want this guy to do? And I thought they'd be a contender for the Big 12 title by year 3 or year 4. They may be doing that in year 2, which is incredible. And like I said, a testament to that staff and the personnel they put together. But if you'd have told me they were going to have a shot to win 10 games, if they actually have a realistic shot of doing, I'd have thought you were crazy. But, man, they actually do. And now I'm kind of looking at the schedule and thinking I would maybe be surprised if they don't win 10, which is incredible to say.
Yeah, they and we had him on yesterday, and just solid as a rock. And like you said, he's won at every level from JUCO to Sam Houston State, Georgia Southern, G5s, as you've mentioned, and also now with Houston at a Power 4.
I do have to ask Sam before we have to let him go. You're going to Austin. I know that you can maybe swing that in a day, but will you make a barbecue or a culinary stop there?
No, I will not. I do not have time to waste on Saturday before after the game because my kid plays soccer on Sunday morning and it's an early kickoff on Sunday morning. So I do not want to be getting back super late. So as soon as the game's over and I file my story, I'm heading back home so I can be a good dad at my kid's soccer game.
Good for you. Good for you. Sam, get your voice back. I'm starting to have mine kind of go down the drain a little bit too. Be careful. Have fun in Austin. And thank you for your time. Enjoy the soccer match on Sunday.